Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone. This is Vic Spalo, Vic's Basement Brewcast. Welcome to our February show, of course, brought to you by South Jersey Beer Scene, sponsored by Art Gallery Tattoo and Eastern Home Brew, as well as our other sponsors who help sponsor our homebrew competition. That's Fermented, Keg and Barrel, and Circle Liquors. So we are here today. I am here solo. My partner and co-host Richard is not here tonight. He's out doing a mission of mercy, reporting the news and producing the news for all you folks out there. So I'm sure he might rather be here, but we'll manage without him for this time. Richard, you'll be missed. I have a very special guest to me here with us tonight. One of my first official brewing teacher that was not virtual or not online. We have from Little Dog Brewery, which is up in Neptune in Monmouth County. So we're moving a little bit out of South Jersey, but that's okay. We can do that because it's our show. So Gretchen Schmidhausler from Little Dog Brewing. Gretchen, welcome.
Hi, Vic. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a welcome having you. Now, you're not drinking beer there. That looks like a nice wine.
Actually, a little plug for my Gesundheit.
Oh, yeah. Is that the Gesundheit?
These are my 16-ounce cans, which are now out and about.
Oh, beautiful color on that. Fits well in a wine glass.
Nice beer. Well, I'm going to switch to red in about an hour or so.
Oh, there you go. That's okay. That's all right. That's all right. And I have here and I first met Gretchen, I guess, how long has Little Dog been open now, Gretchen?
We celebrated or didn't celebrate our 6th anniversary in November. Unfortunately, there was so much going on, or again, not going on with COVID, that we really didn't do anything. So it was 6 years in November, if you can imagine that.
Were you the first brewery, actual microbrewery in Ocean County to open? In Monmouth County, sorry.
No, not at all. Kane was our nearest neighbor.
Kane was before you.
We have what I consider our loop. We have there's 7 breweries in the immediate vicinity. Kane was the first. They opened 2011. I opened 2014, followed very quickly by Beach House, Dark City, Jug Handle, Asbury Park Brewing, and Bradley Brew Project, the newest one, who have been open for, they've been open for a couple of years now. Is that 7? But that's kind of what I think of as our kind of, our area. So I was the second one to open, certainly the smallest.
Yeah, now this is actually, I was there opening weekend many years ago. And this is my Steiner Stein, because you're actually on Steiner Avenue.
Steiner Avenue, what are the chances, right?
So this is the Steiner. So I have my Little Dog merchandise on me today. I got my Little Dog hat.
Thank you.
Now that's the original Little Dog on here, correct?
Yeah, that was Quincy.
That was Quincy on there. Quincy's on the mug also. And I also have my official Steiner certificate that I have, number awesome. 83.
I'm embarrassed to tell you, I don't even remember doing those.
Oh, okay. Well, if I read in the fine print, it says, this is the beer. Every time Victor comes in, he gets free beer.
It might say that because I really don't remember. We'll honor it, of course.
So thank you so much for coming on. I wanted to get Gretchen on because she has such a varied and long time history in the beer industry in New Jersey, and and I got to know her even more talking to some of our Ocean County breweries and brewers when they first opened. The first time I went into Backwood Flag, around when they first opened, I had a Little Dog shirt on, and Tori, who has been on the show several times, you guys see, she says, I love Gretchen. Gretchen actually, and she actually credited you with giving her the ideas to make sure that merchandising is important too. That brand and that trademark.
That's interesting. Yeah.
You know, trademark is important, which sometimes some of the breweries don't really think about, you know, because I know some of the really astute business ones got their logo and got their name out there before they were even able to serve beer, because we all know in the state of New Jersey, it's not the easiest thing to open any type of business, much less a brewery.
That's
So
true.
getting that name brand out there is so important. And Little Dog is certainly a big name out there. So Gretchen, talk to me about your actually brewing history, because I believe you were the first woman brewer in the state of New Jersey. Am I correct?
I was in modern times. I don't know what happened centuries
Well,
ago.
if we go back in history, the first brewers were women. So, and
right.
then the men took it over, and you were one of the pioneers in New Jersey. So, talk a little bit about your brewing history, if you will.
Yeah. So I was a novice home brewer. Just really relatively inexperienced. And I ended up getting a job in a homebrew shop, the homebrew shop that Red Bank Brewing Company had. They were planning on morphing into a microbrewery. So they hired me to run their shop. That's really where I learned to brew, putting together clone recipes for all the guys that would come in. And I say guys because back then it really was 90% guys who would come in for their ingredients. Everybody was looking for clones of, back then,
Okay, we lost Gretchen momentarily. Here we go. You're
weird.
back.
Yeah.
You're back now.
Okay, so
we were talking about the homebrew shop, and most guys coming into the homebrew shop.
Yep. And they were looking for clone recipes. So I really, really learned to brew in that homebrew shop, putting together recipes. What malts we had available, what hops we had available, how everything kind of worked together, to achieve a particular recipe or quality or style or whatever. So I learned my styles there, and I loved it. And then Red Bank Brewing Company took off. They were one of the first to open in New Jersey after the law was changed back in '96, and they ended up closing the homebrew shop because it was just too much time with the actual brewery. I think we were beginning to bottle. We had the bottling line, and there was just a lot going on in the other room, basically. It was a 30-barrel lager brewery. They made great beer, but maybe a little bit ahead of their time. So when the homebrew shop closed, I moved into the brewery, and I worked with Tom Clark, who's the owner, and a guy named Sean Hamilton, who was the brewer. And I became the assistant brewer. And I worked there only for about a year and a half. Again, I said they were a little bit ahead of their time. They laid me off. And then unfortunately, in less than a year, they went out of business. So I kind of thought about it. And, I'm really a writer. I was an English lit major. And I worked for newspapers for years. I continued doing a lot of freelance writing to support myself. And I thought about what I had been doing, and I just loved it. I loved the brewing. I loved the routine. I loved the creativity. I loved the physical aspect of it. And I loved the PR being, talking about the beer. So I made the decision, with the help of some good friends, to go out to California and do a 3-month residential program at the American Brewers Guild. I think we were one of the last residential classes out there. They've since moved from Woodland, California to Vermont. So I graduated from there back in 99, I think, 98, 99. And there weren't a lot of jobs in New Jersey for brewers. There were a number of breweries, but they had basically one brewer. And I ended up working for Ann Hall, and I can't say enough good things about the Hall family. They own the Ship Inn, which was the first brewery in New Jersey. They were a brew pub, and Ann hired me for, and I worked for them for 6 months. I loved it. They made English ales, and it was an hour and 35 minutes from home, so it just really wasn't feasible to continue it for too long. And then an opening came up at Basil Teas in Red Bank, and Bob Hetmansberger, who was the head brewer, hired me to be the assistant brewer down in their Toms River location. That place is still there. It's called Artisans now.
Right.
And I worked, and then as luck would have it, Bob and his family moved away from the area exactly a year later, and I became the head brewer at Basil's. So I was there for 12 years as the brewer.
Now I know that at least the Basil Teas in Red Bank, right, where 35 comes by there. It's Viverino now.
Viverino.
Now they actually still had, I know, Rocket Red. Was that your recipe?
No, actually, that's interesting. Actually, Rocket Red was Victor, the owner, his favorite beer. And I believe it was like a college nickname because he was on the track team or something.
Okay.
And they had that beer contract brewed at Catamount.
Oh, okay.
Before they became a brewery. And so they were one of the first. They opened shortly after Red Bank Brewing opened. Of course, Red Bank Brewing was production brewery. They were a brew pub. I think the brew pub model is still a really viable one. It's expensive, so I understand why more people don't kind of go that route. So they did that, and I had an awful lot of success there. I just absolutely loved it. I was the first brewer in New Jersey to win a gold medal at the Great American Beer Festival for my stout, and I actually won 3 medals. And technically, I mean, even if you inherit recipes, after a while they become yours because you're tweaking them. There's as a home brewer, there's so many ways you can influence a recipe throughout the course of it, whether it's the temperature you use or the variety of malt that you're using or your fermentation schedule, whatever. So, a big shout out to Bob Hetmansberger, who actually created those first recipes. And, I kind of tweaked, as I said, I tweaked them over the years and I felt, made them mine. And it was tough to leave. They had really good food too. And everyone was nice. I love my customers, and it was a tough decision to make, but it was time to move on. I left in 2011. And then I wrote a book on home brewing and did a little bit of consulting and kind of just, did some things to further my plans to open a brewery. And I opened Little Dog in the late fall of 2014.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you, Gretchen. Now, you first woman brewer in New Jersey. What did you run into any type of obstacles because you were a woman? What kind of, did you have any challenges?
Not at all. Unfortunately, when people do stories on women brew, they kind of want to hear that you had a lot of, I had to really fight to get respect. I didn't. I was a hard worker. I was eager. I wasn't above anything. I don't mean it like that. Sounds terrible. Grungy work, heavy work. I really gave it my all, and I really want to thank Tom Clark, who owned Red Bank Brewing Company, and who now owns Berwick Brewing in Berwick, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
For really encouraging me and always being so supportive. Even now, if I need to troubleshoot something, he is one of my go-to guys.
Oh, great. Yeah, one of our one of our partners in South Jersey beer scene, Tom Renzulli, he's out there a lot, and I think he's been to Berwick a number of times.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
great.
and Tom made a lot of did a lot of modifications to my equipment. I drove it out there. So anyway, he was just great. And the other person who really was very supportive was Tom Baker, another New Jersey name, who used to have Heavyweight Brewing in Ocean Township, not too far from where Kane is now.
Okay.
And he has Earthbread Brewery in the Mount Airy section of Philly, and also Bar Huga, which is a brew pub on Fairmount in the Museum District. So Tom's an old New Jersey guy too.
I'm going to get a little nerdy with you as far as supplies back then when you first started, as far as now, like the malts, etc. What's the differences between what you order now and what you ordered then?
The variety, for sure.
Yeah.
So when all the years when I was at Red Bank Brewing Company, we got our malt in from Germany, of course, and it came in 110-pound bags. Now the standard for a brewery my size is the 55-pound, but it was 110, and it was it needed to be milled. So that was kind of my first experience with that. At Basil Teas, I always used milled malt. I never had a problem with it, but there wasn't a lot of variety. Now you can basically get, and I still use milled malt. I don't mill at my place, and you can just get virtually anything. It's great. The same with the hops. I mean, I'm old school still, so I never have problems getting hops because I'm using Cascade, I'm using Hollow Tower, I'm using a couple of others. But there's just so many, they're just breeding so many varieties of hops. There's just a lot of, there's just an awful lot out there. Of course, the prices have gone up accordingly.
Of course, yeah. Now the type of grain too. Like a few years ago, I was making a Hefeweizen, and I wanted to do it as a decoction. The Hefeweizen decoction is basically where you put the mash back in. The mash kind of runs through 2 times, etc., and so forth. And like some of the guys at Brew Club were, why are you doing that? This isn't 1980 where the grains aren't developed and everything like that. It's because I wanted to. That's why. So, do you find that it's easier to work with the grains and the malt that you have now than it was then?
I think there's a lot of truth to what you just said. I tend to be traditional, and I do a lot by myself and on my own. So for me to have the luxury of an hour mash rest is really great, because I'm always prepping for the next step. I've always got a lot to do. I mean, in reality, I remember someone years ago saying to me, the grains are so well modified, you really don't need to rest for an hour. But I do. I do.
Now, tell us a little about Little Dog. Like, what size brewery are you, etc.?
Okay, I'm a 4-barrel brewery. The kettle is a little oversized, so I guess you could say that's a 5-barrel vessel. It's kind of a Frankenstein, Frankenbrew setup. Nothing. It's not. It wasn't purchased. It wasn't fabricated as a 4-barrel system. It's kind of cobbled together, and I bought my equipment used. I was very lucky to find used equipment. I bought it from Dave Hoffman, another old name in New Jersey brewing. He owns Climax Brewing in Roselle Park, and Dave is the first and longest, is that right? Oldest operating microbrewery in New Jersey. So I'm proud to have his equipment. I think it had a former life as dairy equipment down in the Carolinas before he acquired it and did some modifications to it. I bought it. Tom Clark made some modifications to me. So I love the history of it. Dave's beers were reviewed by Michael Jackson, beers that he had brewed on that system. It's designed for English ales, and so it has a plate in the bottom. So I use whole hops. as my last edition. And, it's a little unique. And it's a great system.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more labor intensive than something newer and
right.
shinier, but
I will say that my wife said that when we were there your opening week, and she doesn't drink beer, she said you gave the best description of the brew process that she's heard. She actually understood what you were talking about.
A good brewer friend of mine, I'm not going to embarrass him by saying his name, but he and his wife came, and they listened, and at the end she turned to him and she said, "That's what you do? That's really interesting."
That's great. Well, that's good, because my wife, she sees it being made and says, "That's a mess. That's a mess." Like, I'll show her the yeast starter and she won't want to have anything to do with it or anything like that. So now you still have the same system that you have there now.
I do. I've changed a few things around. I sold a couple of oversized tanks to actually a distillery down in Delaware, and I visited them back in November. They're getting good use. I've added a couple of conical fermenters. I was using plastic for a little while just to kind of, have more fermentation space. So it's cranking along. I mean, it's pretty good. And yeah, it's a small system. It's, as I said, 4 barrels, which for the lay people listening is about 124 gallons, which doesn't sound like a lot, but let me tell you, it really is a lot of beer. I'm making more traditional styles. So if I'm brewing 4 barrels, I'm yielding pretty damn close to 4 barrels. Unlike, some people who are doing a lot of adjuncts, a lot of hops, they may be brewing 4 barrels and yielding 2. So it's working for me. And, I don't know if you want to segue into the COVID deal now or later. I don't want to direct you, but I have too much beer. I mean, it's real difficult. I don't have any indoor service, and trying to sell it is, even if you're busy, you're just not going through that much of it. So I've had to be really creative. It's not possible to really shrink the batch size. The kettle kind of dictates how much beer you can brew. So you have to be really smart about it. I'm going to be brewing, and I'm not brewing certainly as often as I had been. Last year's been really bad in terms of production. But I'm going to be brewing my stout on Thursday. I have a great stout. I want to have it for, I may still have it in September, but I want to have it for St. Patty's Day. I'm kidding, but I'll definitely have it, and I'll put it. I'm doing the big format cans out of the brewery.
Yeah. So tell us, how has the pandemic affected you? It's really almost a year since everything's been closed down now.
Yeah, it's almost the first anniversary of our 2-week lockdown, right? First year anniversary.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been easy. In the beginning, when I realized I could kind of just reconfigure things and do beer to go, it was great. There was a new appreciation for local. People were very generous. They came out, they bought. And then at some point, I think they realized, wait a minute, there's a lot of beer in my refrigerator, and, maybe I'm not working, and I need to kind of tone it down. So we did kind of see that kind of people backing off from spending so much money. I do not have indoor service. One benefit of COVID is that I have a lovely patio now outside, and we serve out there whenever we can. We had people sitting out there yesterday.
I saw the pictures you have it out there.
Yeah.
Normally, pre-COVID, you did have some nice picnic tables, etc., inside. And everything, pre-COVID.
So I could have 14 people inside. I have a capacity of 40, so I could have 14 with 35%. it's one kind of smallish room. I don't have an air conditioning system, so the ventilation to me is a little sketchy. I don't see the point in inviting people in and keeping the front door open and the window open and the back door open and having it be 30 degrees inside. So I'm going to wait it out. I think we're going to be looking at reopening the tasting room, I would say, maybe April 1st, something like that. More and more people are getting vaccines but I mean, otherwise it's kind of just me in there with a mask on with a bunch of people who don't have masks on. And I don't really need to do it. My overhead is very low, and that is definitely a big plus. My sales last year were just horrible. My production was almost half what it was in my barrelage, the previous year. So you do what you can. I think a lot of breweries, it's kind of good to see that they're trying to find their way, they're canning more, but that's expensive. That's expensive to do. So I know a few breweries who, I don't know how they're doing. I hope they're doing well, but I think there's I think there's definitely going to be we're definitely going to lose some in the next few months, because it kind of snowballs. I mean, I was fine at first, and now I'm like, oh my God, and the weather this month has just been horrible. It's really killed us.
Yeah, it's been awful. Even if you wanted to come and sit outside, some days it's just impossible.
Yeah.
I did see some pictures from there that you had people outside. That's good.
Yeah. No, they're a hardy group in New Jersey, so that's fun.
Now let's get to some happier subjects. As far as the beers you make, when you opened Little Dog, did you have a specific style of beer that you wanted the Little Dog to be known for?
Yeah, I'm obviously, my background is German. My name is Gretchen Schmidhausler. I love the German ales and lagers. I thought they, nobody was doing it. I think I was a little bit more pragmatic. I know at the time, the IPAs were really beginning to rise in favor, and the Belgians and not so much the sours back then. That's happened more in the last 5 years, maybe. And so, you look and you say, okay, you have to, not that you want to tailor a business plan to what other people like or to the trends, but, you have to look and you have to say, okay, what makes sense? So I thought a nice alt beer. There's not a lot of people drinking amber ales. This was back in 2012 or 13 when I was beginning the process. So I thought I would do that. And also my other flagship I thought would be a Hef. And, but I was flexible enough to say, okay, but look, if these don't take off, that's fine. So now what I tell people is, hey, hi, I make traditional beers. I'm kind of not a purist. I wouldn't say I'm a purist at all. But I make classic styles. They're basically German and English influenced ales. And it seems to be, it seems to be working. Some people will come in and say, how many IPAs do you have on? And I'll say, you're in the wrong place. But I rarely have anyone who comes in who can't find something that not only to drink, but that they enjoy. And I'm not brewing for myself. I'm brewing for the people who come in. And I think that is such valuable experience working at a brew pub, because you're talking to the customers, you're talking to them. Hey, where have you been? What have you had? What do you like? What don't you like? And you really learn, what people are doing. I think if you're not connected to people, I mean, I know brewers and owners who are don't work in their tasting rooms. How can you possibly understand or know what the reception is of your beer, or what they want. I mean, you can't just assume, hey, IPAs are hot, everyone's drinking IPAs. But you know what? A lot of people are, but not everybody is.
Yeah. Now, if I was to ask you, now I know sometimes your brews are like like children or like dogs or pets. If there was a favorite beer that you like that you brew, what would it be? Would you be able to name one?
Seafarer Stout.
Seafarer Stout.
Which I'm brewing on, I'll be brewing on Thursday. It's named for my father. My father was a merchant marine. He's been gone for a while now. I think he would be, I don't know if he would be 100, but he would be close to it. And he worked until he was 82 years old, until he died. And he would his office was up in South Amboy, and he would stop at Basil Teas, and he would come in and he would order my stout. He loved stout. He was not a beer drinker, but he loved my stout. And I would say, how's it taste, Dad? He'd say, tastes like another. So, and I brewed it for the first time on March 10th, which was his, which would have been, I think, his 90th birthday or something. Wow. Something like that. So yeah, that's my favorite. Plus, I think it's a great style. It's a dry Irish stout. When I was at Basil Teas, we did Maxwell Stout. I won 3 medals at the Great American Beer Festival for that stout. And yes, it's a very similar recipe because it's just a classic dry Irish stout.
Very nice. Very nice. That sounds great. Now, we've been talking about GABF. Now, I know that you've actually have judged there. Last year, I know everything was in an uproar. This year, who knows going to happen. Right now, I don't think there's a date for GABF out. And GABF, for everyone who doesn't know, that's the brew festival convention, etc., out in Denver, the largest one. I guess the 3rd largest in the world, I think. The largest in the United States, though, isn't it?
For sure, the largest in the United States. I don't know where else. Yeah, the Great American Beer Festival has been going on. I was wearing one of my judges' fleeces the other day, and and I think it was from 2006. And my husband said, "I just noticed what is the 25?" And I said, "That's the 25th year." So I've been going out. Yeah, I've been going out and judging for a long time. It's a great experience. It's very it's fun. It's a lot of work, and it's very educational because you're always judging with somebody that knows more than you do.
That's great. Now, tell us what that's like, the judging there. Like, I've judged at the Atlantic City Beer Fest, for that there. Now, GABF is a whole different animal. Tell us a little bit about what that process is like in a normal year, Gretchen.
So it's not, it's not, you're not a certified beer judge. You don't need to be. They're looking for people with industry experience. I actually, years ago, I shared a cab with a guy from the Midwest who had won an award and at one of the conferences, and I was kind of quizzing him about it, and he said, you should consider judging. I said, huh. So I submitted an application to them. I had to provide my resume and I think 3 references. And I wasn't called up for a couple of years. So anyway, that's kind of how they do it. You're sitting, you fill out a questionnaire in advance. There's over 100 styles of beer, and you have to kind of rank your preferences. I have my favorites. I have styles that I consider myself an expert in. One of them is the stout. So I always try to judge that category. Of course, if I was entering it, I wouldn't be able to do that. But you always get stuck with something that you're not crazy about. There's so many categories. There's so many entries in the pale and the IPA categories that everybody has to do a round. Everyone has to do a medal round. Everyone has to do just a preliminary round of that. But basically you judge 6 sessions over 3 days. It's a full day. They provide you with a nice breakfast and lunch. And, you're at a table with 5 other judges, and you evaluate the beers, based on the style guidelines. And over those 3 days, 6 sessions, you probably judge 10 to 12 beers only, style categories, if you can imagine that. And there's a lot of discussion. There's less, I don't want to say less discussion, there's always discussion. But some are preliminary rounds, and you're just looking to pass beers on to the next round. Some are medal rounds, and obviously that's taken everything is taken very, very seriously. And it's fun, but it really is grueling.
Oh yeah.
And you drink a lot of beer.
Yeah, I'm sure though, but that's a job over 3 days doing all of that.
Yeah, the first year that I judged, I'm kind of an anxious person or a nervous person. And I was a wreck. I was an absolute wreck. And in the afternoon, the first flight in the afternoon was barley wines. And I don't like barley wines. I didn't know that much about barley wines. And I sat next to Michael Jackson.
Oh, wow.
And he kind of, would lean over, and, he was, we were kind of talking during, and I found that in that particular flight, my observations or comments were kind of, in line with his.
Oh.
So that does a lot for your confidence.
The confidence right there, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still don't like barley wines. But.
Well, hopefully we get there this year and they're able to. I know right now there's no official date yet. They're planning on doing it.
Yeah.
Did they come out with an official date?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's an official date, but I got an email and I don't remember if it had a date. But I think what they're looking to do is combine the Brewers Conference, which of course was supposed to be in the Craft Brewers Conference, the CBC, which was supposed to be in San Antonio in April. That was canceled. And I was very disappointed, because that was to be a World Beer Cup year. They alternate every other year. They do the World Beer Cup, and I had been invited to be a judge in that, and I've only judged that competition one other time. But they're going to do that in conjunction with the Great American Beer Festival both in Denver, September or October. I don't know how accurate that is, but that was my impression. So I don't know what that means for the hall. I don't know if they're going to have 30,000 people, drinking beer in there. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, we actually had on a show in the fall, we had John Moorhead, who is the director of competitions for the BA. And Richard and I actually committed to going out to San Diego to do a podcast from there, because we have a very large expense account at South Jersey Beer Scene, and we get paid a lot of money. So we were going to fly out there to San Diego and do that. I don't know if that's actually going to happen or not. I don't know, but
I have a ticket I couldn't use. I can give you.
There you go. Use that. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Now we had talked. I'm gonna circle back a little bit, because we had talked about the brewery during the pandemic and the challenges that you have. And now you just entered into a distribution agreement now, so for Little Dog. Yep. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's with a brand new craft distributor called Liquid Runner. They are based in Toms River in Ocean County. And they, I believe, have a small number of craft accounts from New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York. They're doing primarily beer. I think they have I think they have at least one cider as well. I realized a while ago, in order to grow, first of all, for a one-person brewery, which I pretty much am at this point, the distribution, it's a good way to make money, and you need it. I had like virtually no distribution last year, but I was delivering the kegs. It was crazy. I mean, and it's unless you do it in volume with the draft beer, it's just silly to be driving everything around. So I said, okay, I need to do cans. Let's figure out a way to do this. So my husband Kevin is not really a beer guy, but he's been very supportive in this project. He's actually my landlord, by the way. And so what I had been trying to do for a while was actually find someone to pick me up. And then, this new guy kind of came on the scene. So I started talking to them. To get the ball rolling, I had my first 2 batches. They wanted 2 SKUs. They wanted the Gesundheit and the Duck Boy Pale. The Gesundheit is an amber style ale or an alt beer. The Duck Boy is an American Pale, not an IPA, but an American Pale.
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second. Now, alt beer. I had never heard of an alt beer until I attended a brew class. That was, I guess it was from Brookdale College in Monmouth County. And Gretchen was the actual instructor. And the beer she had, I guess the beer you had us make was an alt beer.
Yeah, but I didn't choose. That's funny. I think you guys voted on.
Did we really?
Right? I forgot about that.
Maybe Joe Ellen at Brewer's Apprentice picked that beer.
Yeah, maybe that was it. I think there might have been like a couple of recipes.
Yeah.
But it's a nice style. Yeah. It's a nice style. It's an ale. It's fermented a little colder. I tell people it's as authentic a beer as I can make in my brewery. Mm-hmm. And that should, kind of be good enough for people. Yeah. So that's my flagship, Gesundheit. And along with the Duck Boy, I decided to have it contract brewed out at River Horse.
Okay.
Yep. So they did, fairly large batches of both. And that was a way for me to kind of get the ball rolling and to provide the distributor with enough beer to get them kind of situated. I'm drinking one of those beers now. Mm-hmm. And the recipe, obviously it was my recipe that was brewed, just a much larger system. I went out there, there wasn't anything for me to do. It wasn't like, like hazing, and they didn't make me like grain out or anything like that. But I went out when it was brewed, and I went out the day it was canned. So it was very exciting to have someone hand me a can with no top to drink right off of the line.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's what's being distributed right now. And I mean, I think they have us in about at least 10 to, I don't even know, because they've really only had the beer for a week or so. Mm-hmm. Then going forward, I've ordered a tabletop canner, not a crowler machine, but a tabletop canner.
Okay.
From a company in Texas, American Canning, and that should be here mid-March. Mm. And it's a beautiful machine, and it will give me the capability to do 16-ounce cans in-house.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and it's pretty much it's pretty much all automated.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great.
So going forward,
you have room back in the brew house area for that? Is that where it's going to be?
It's on a cart.
Okay.
It's on a cart. It's I have a ton of room in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you roll it in. I think that's similar to what they have at Ship Bottom. They have upstairs there.
Maybe. I looked into a couple of other manufacturers, mm-hmm. and for whatever reason, that's just the one I settled on. But I know they, the other people gave me various names, and I do remember someone mentioning Ship Bottom. I'm not sure exactly what they have. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's got something I know, because when it's canning day, they roll that out And they do, and then they can roll it back into the corner of the brew house.
Yeah, I have a lot of room. I really set it up so that, so that I have a lot of room there. And the contract brewing is not inexpensive. And the mobile canning is very expensive. The packaging alone really adds up. So unless you're doing a big volume, I know it's a means to an end. A lot of people are relying on the mobile canners, but and then I'm giving it to a distributor, so you're losing, you're losing a little bit there as well. So this was just, I think it could work out very, very well. I think it'll be a good relationship.
Nice. Now, will that put you down like further south, like in Ocean County, etc.?
Yeah, I think they've already got some accounts down there. Don't ask me right now where. I know I'm in the Jackson Spirits, I think.
Okay. Okay, that's a big.
Yeah, no, they're covering all of New Jersey, so we'll see what happens.
Great. Oh, that's terrific. And their name again?
Liquid Runner.
Liquid Runner. Okay, cool. Very good. Very good. All right, Gretchen, thank you so much. Now, one last questions we got to ask you. We always ask something a little off the wall.
Let's hear it.
Here, so you're on a desert island. You had a 6-pack of beer. What do you have in that 6-pack?
Is the refrigeration?
Somehow it magically stays cold.
I gotta say Sierra Nevada.
Okay. Sierra Nevada. How about you can pick 5 other beers for that 6-pack? What do you want in there?
Oh, and does it magically replenish every time I drink one?
No. Yes, it does. Yes, you have the same 6 beers forever.
Definitely Sierra Nevada. I'd like something a little bit lighter, like a Rolling Rock. For the really hot days on that island. I'd like Guinness, right? A can of Guinness. Can I get one with the widget?
Guinness, when I did the Guinness tour in Ireland, Gretchen, you would think that the cold area is their biggest market. Their largest producer is down in Nigeria, and that's actually their biggest market.
Huh.
Where it's fairly warm down there. So a lot of people don't realize that. So Guinness is good all year.
Yeah. Okay. And then I hate to say it, but maybe a couple of my beers. Okay. But I want them to be rotating because you're always learning. You're always coming up with ideas. So
you don't have to apologize for having your own beer there. That's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine. So now, okay, you're down there. You got your beers. You only can listen to one musical artist. Who is it? Sometimes I say one album, but I'm gonna give you
one artist. That's
one
good.
Artist.
Obviously I'm a Jersey girl, so I'm a huge Springsteen fan, but really of his earlier works, not so much the later. So, I would say it might have to be like the Talking Heads.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I could do that, I think, for whatever mood I was in.
Oh, excellent, excellent. That's good. All right, well, with that, Gretchen, I want to thank you so much for coming on tonight. Can we give the little dog a little wave there? Is he awake or is he sleeping?
Yeah, I'm gonna show you the little dog. And I want to make a comment about the little dog too. So here, let me do this. Can you see him?
Yep, Jasper, you're in trouble. Hey, Jasper.
Yeah, he's not happy. He just wants to be left alone. So a lot of people see that it's called the Little Dog and they think it's kind of like a dog-centric brewery. First of all, I'm not dog friendly at all. I personally am, and my staff, when I have a staff, is, but it's really not a good environment for dogs. It's for people. So no dogs allowed. But The little dog, Jasper and his predecessor, Quincy, are Basenjis. The Basenji is the barkless dog of Africa. They're small African hunting dogs, and they are small, they are independent, they are tenacious, and they are very, very challenging to own. So really, in a lot of ways, I'm the little dog because I'm competing with a lot of bigger breweries. But that's really, I like to give my beers and my businesses, I guess, names that kind of have different levels of meaning. So that's really why it's the little dog.
Excellent. That's great. Great explanation. Now, with the little dog itself, I know that you've been, is there like a little dog, like social network, etc., for the Basenjis?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I sell a tremendous amount of Basenji merchandise online, or actually my website is pretty crappy right now. But yeah, there definitely is. And I get a lot of people who, even though we're not dog friendly, I get a lot of people who bring their little dogs and have their picture taken outside the mural.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yeah. That is
and then
great.
They show up in the most interesting places, but that's it.
That's great. Well, Gretchen, thank you again so much. So everyone, that's Little Dog Brewery in Neptune. Gretchen, why don't you tell us where you are, how people can get in touch with you, etc.
Sure. So I'm located in Neptune City, which is just just west of Bradley Beach. I'm about 3/4 of a mile from the beach. I am just a few blocks from the train station. I've got plenty of parking. There are a number of other breweries in the area, so so there's if you want to do a little brewery crawl, you can do that. Right now, I do not have any indoor seating. I'm doing everything on the patio, and that's only weather permitting. I'm anticipating, as the weather warms up, we'll either have, a robust seating arrangement on the patio, or we'll be able to bring more people in. And the other thing I want to tell people, and I'm only open on the weekends, I don't keep long hours, so please, either call, listen to the message, go on our website, which is terrible. I don't know if I mentioned that already. Instagram, Facebook, check it out. I'm also going to be opening a small homebrew store in the brewery, and just for really your basics. You're like, oh crap, I broke my hydrometer and it's Saturday morning, kind of thing. Some grains, some hops, some yeast, and some very basic small equipment.
Oh, okay.
And I'm hoping to launch that April 1 too.
Oh, excellent.
And that will extend our hours a little bit more.
Now, can people come and pick up like cans to go, et cetera, and so forth?
Absolutely, yeah. Again, I do a good to go business right now in the brewery. I'm packaging in large format cans. I call them oil cans, the 25.4 ounces. Mm-hmm. I have the 32 ounce crowlers. We call them howlers because we're the little dog. The 16 ounce beers are going to be the 16 ounce 4-packs. Some will be available at the brewery. Some will be available at our retail partners. And I'm still kind of working out the logistics of that right now.
Okay, excellent. Excellent. Gretchen, again, thank you so much for coming on. That's Little Dog Brewery, Neptune, New Jersey, and be on the lookout.
Yeah, Vic, Neptune City.
Neptune City. Okay.
It's
so
actually,
you got Neptune
actually,
City. Neptune Township is around it, correct?
Oh yeah, across the street.
Yes.
But
yes.
it's definitely a different town.
Okay, great. Well, Gretchen, thank you so much, and everyone, thank you so much for watching. This is Vic's Basement Brewcast for South Jersey Beer Scene. And Gretchen, thank you so much. Have a good night, everyone. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Cheers. Thanks, Vic. Are you still there? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm shutting off the recording.